Hello everyone, welcome to the Dealer to Healer podcast. It's been quite a while since I put a show out. Lots and lots of stuff has been happening, as always in my life. Events, yoga raves, cacao ceremonies. Cacao ceremonies have been next level. Ecstatic dances. We're just doing all sorts at Stone Cold Sober. Yoga teaching, which has been magnificent. I've just done my Jiva Mukti yoga teacher training, which has been something that I've been trying to do since 2011. So finally, to like this time last year, have no money and decide, right, I'm gonna manifest this amount of money. It's the most expensive yoga teacher training on the planet. To manifest it and decide I was gonna go to India in February, and then obviously the COVID thing happened, and it was like, okay, it's an option to do it online, and I can still do the in-person one at a later date. So as you can see, I'm joined by a very good friend of mine, Ahisha Das, and we're going to be going deep into her story soon. So yeah, we've got Stone Cold Sober, we've got this yoga retreat coming up, which is going to be phenomenal, transformational, with all our events involved in it. So if you want to get some information on that, just go to the website, www.liambrowne.com. The book is still on Amazon, Dealer to Healer. It's doing amazingly, it's just growing so organically. I'm getting so much feedback, and every week I get a message just saying how it's really helped somebody on their journey. So that is like the most humbling thing, and that's the reason why I was drawn to. Well, I wasn't even drawn to write the book. Just cosmic forces happened, and I was just like, it was just tapping away, like write a book, and then actually to birth that into the world, and the process of it, and how difficult it was to actually. I finished the book, and then it took me 5 years to publish it because of just head stuff and not being worthy of writing a book. And I'm dyslexic, I've got a C in English, all these bullshit stories of people are going to ridicule it, and so eventually just to step out of that and go down the process and just commit to self-publishing and all the stuff that I learned. So please go and check the book out, go and check all the activities that we've got going on the website, and I'm going to shut up and we're going to go into the podcast of why you guys are all here. This is Ahisha Das. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me here. This is an honour and it's exciting. Yeah, it's beautiful to be in England with you.
Yeah.
I read your book and it was wonderful. I really felt your presence and your being, and interestingly enough, I sat in a ceremony not long afterwards, and I could hear your Manchester accent in my head, and your wisdom coming through in that moment. So thank you for writing this book.
Oh, thank you, and thank you for all the teachings that you've given myself and my business partner Joanna over the last. How long have we working together for?
It's been over a year now, I believe.
Yeah, and it's been amazing. It's added so much richness and depth to everything that I do, and I just want to say thank you for handing on that knowledge. And if people who don't know, she does a lot of sound therapy, a lot of sound teaching, voice activation, drumming, harmonium, basically all the amazing instruments that you hear in kirtan is what Ahisha does. So yeah, tell us what you do at the moment. What's going on?
What does one do? It's always a wonderful question. I've committed my life to service is the ultimate answer. I started on a healing journey over a decade ago. Personal healing, which has taken me into many realms: plant medicine, ceremony, Bhakti, yoga, and women's circles, energy, just everything, like all the paths, all the modalities to become whole. And from that space, I started teaching and sharing, and it's really come from one's own experience. And then I've lived in communities and retreat centers, and I've worked with hundreds and hundreds of people looking to transform, looking to get out of a reality which doesn't serve, which is an overriding program of the collective in this moment. So what one truly does is to help people rise out of their slavery and their darkness and into a harmonious space of being through one-to-one, everything I show up for is for this, be it through kirtan, be it through vocal activation, be it through ceremony, training facilitators, empowering people to be the best and highest versions of themselves, and however that looks, so then they can spread the teachings and the joy and raise up all the people around them till eventually we're all there vibrating together.
Yeah, totally. And on the show and everything that we do, like the dealer to healer, like the kind of mantra is to move beyond our imagined limitations, because our limitations are, you know, they are just imagined. It's an illusion. It's Maya. We're limitless beings.
Absolutely, absolutely. When we know how powerful we are, there's now a path to embody that power and to become it. There's such a difference between knowing and being, and this is where I really like to come into play, to how do we anchor that in? How do we anchor this truth into our reality and show up in this vibration and in this beingness in our everyday life, and walk in the mundane, the matrix as sometimes it's referred, but as the light of our divine cosmic selves.
Beaming out love and light.
Absolutely.
So everyone just glowing. Go to glow. As Keith says, the Cacao shaman, he's like, go to glow. He said, you know, if you're in a queue at an airport and you sort of think, oh, maybe I'll get an upgrade, I'll go to glow, and it's like, say it in your heart, glow, and then just see that the magic happens. In all situations, if you can remember that mantra, it's like, oh, I'm glowing now, and think magic will happen.
Absolutely, I couldn't agree more. I've been working with this for a long time, and sometimes even I forget as well, and then it's like, I am the light. There is no separation. And I can tell a little story really quickly. When I went to the US a few months ago, I forgot to get a visa. It just escaped my awareness. So I got to the check-in and she's like, there's no visa. And I was like, oh, dang, no, there isn't a visa. I didn't get one. But every part of my being was like, this is not a problem. I'm meant to be in America. And there was no doubt. I had absolutely no doubt in my being that this is an illusion. But by illusion, I mean this is a dream. We are dreaming, and we are in control of this dream. So from that aspect, I knew if I went online, put my energy into the matrix, and was like, change the noughts and ones, make this visa appear now, that it would happen. And it wasn't supposed to. Apparently it takes 24 hours or whatever, but no, it was happening, and it did happen. And this is how powerful we are, to just go with the glow, know our lights. And if we can truly embrace it in our hearts, then we can create. And I'd love to touch on this because I really specialise in shadow work. And there's this thing about, you know, the, what's it called? The
Dark matter as well.
No, when we manifest, you know, there's this huge movement about manifestation and
like the secret sort
the
of thing.
secret. That's exactly what I'm talking about. So I hear a lot of people are like, well, if we just love and light, surely it should be there. And this is where the shadow work comes in, because if the forefront of the consciousness is love and light, but the subconscious is like, no, you're not worthy, then you're not going to get it. It won't appear. So we have to go in to the subconscious and do the shadow work to become whole, and then to become truly magical, powerful beings.
And it's crazy, isn't it? Because there's so much of us that's like the thoughts, that the things, especially with money and finance, and well, and just abundance in general. These things of what your parents said, like money doesn't grow on trees, or we haven't got enough for that, we can't afford that, and it's like, actually, let's just stop that. It's like, I am working towards getting that, or I've already got that, and then it will arrive. And it's funny because, you know, I used to always hear my dad's voice, and I still do now. But it's funny because he'll go in a shop and he'll go, I can't believe that fucking spa. You went there robbing bastards in that fucking spa. And it's like, what? It's as if, you know, it's as if his mind processes that when he goes in the shop, they change the prices just for him. Do you know what I mean? It's cheaper for everyone else, but I went, Dad, that's the price for everyone. And the amount you worry about it, and you know, when we were younger, he'd drive about trying to get 2p off a litre of petrol, and thinking, you fucking lost that amount of money driving the bloody car. It's just this like, and then, well, I think the big realisation I had with my dad was that he grew up in extreme poverty. When he tells me about it, it was Dublin in the 30s and 40s, and when he explains it, he was the street kid that I see in India. He was carrying a bag around, collecting plastic, doing little robberies, taking stuff off trees, and it's like, oh right. And then you realise a lot of that Irish crowd that come over, they were born in extreme poverty. So it's kind of like we've got to hold on to what we've got, and some of them are minted, but they still, like, he's got money, but he won't spend it. He'd rather live like a pauper, you know, and just know he's got that. And it's interesting. And I think for me, I had to strip back a lot of those programs that had been given to me by my parents, coming from this lack mentality.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is what it is when people refer to lineage work, clearing the lineage. And it's energy. Like, we are passed things on, the sins of the father. It's these beliefs, these energies, and they show up in our psyche. They show up in our physical reality, like the way our body's shaped, the way we hold our pains and our traumas. It all comes energetically through the lineage, which is through beliefs. And truly, we are here incarnate in this time to end these cycles. And how do we end these cycles? It's through changing the relationship to what we believe we are. So when we're really locked in the program of, I believe I am the daughter, son of this being, and the summation of my stories, you're working class, you're middle class, you're this, you're stupid, you're creative, you're this, you know, and we're taking the program we're taking on, it becomes so ingrained. But when we start to awaken through these paths, the yogic paths, plant medicine paths, whatever, we start to see, what am I truly? Who am I truly? And we can start identifying as a bigger thing, a higher thing, then these stories become more and more irrelevant. And then it's really about, what do we serve? And this can help. Because if we're serving self, then we're only the summation of self. We are the story. And then there's the worthiness. But if we've changed that relationship to serve a higher authority, then everything we do and we show up for is in alignment to this. So it's much easier to transcend the smallness of person and go into the largeness of life. So if we're serving the light, if we're serving the upliftment of humanity, then there's not really a question of, am I worthy?
Exactly.
Because
yeah.
we are the light.
yeah.
So this can really help a being that's trapped in the story to transcend out of it. Does that make sense?
Totally. And so you know, and not only are you're healing it for all your generation, all your ancestors and your future generations. You're doing the healing that's gonna heal that whole lineage, that line. You know what I mean? And then have the bigger effect of being able to spread that to everybody that you meet and give them the empowerment and the ability to heal what they need to heal.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Because we've all got these, like, if what we had going on inside our body was cuts and bruises, every human would be from head to toe covered in cuts and bruises. It'd be so visible because it's unseen, and somebody might look healthy, but on the inside they're just fucking struggling and dying, and they've not healed and they've not processed. And there's no doctors that you go to who see all those scars inside and wounds, and you know, will put you on the right direction to cleanse and purify it. But it is a hard path to go down. It's like, it's gonna be tough. It's gonna be tough, and you know, it's like, do I stay in this life that I'm struggling with all these wounds that I can just about manage, but I'm not enjoying life, or do I like go through this horrific time for 6 months or however long it takes for me to start processing, and then just be like, oh, wow, I can enjoy every single breath that I've got left in this physical body.
Yeah, and I love what you're saying, because again, this equates to, what are we moving towards? Because often we're born and we're in the program, we're in the society, like go to school, the first year, second year, third year, get a job, go to college, do this, earn money, be a person, start really building on your personhood, seek fame or seek notoriety or whatever these things are, because the human being seeks to quantify itself. It's always seeking to know itself, gnosis. It's the soul calling that forward. So we're looking for it, and we're looking for it in the eyes of everybody else. Who am I? Am I good enough? Am I enough? So often we're in this hamster wheel chasing these things, and we don't even know why it's not fulfilling our soul.
Yeah.
But when we can just stop the wheel and truly ask these questions on a deep gnosis, then that becomes the path. It becomes a dharmic path. Like, what is the soul incarnate here to achieve, to balance, to overcome? So then, for me, it's the path of the heart, and the North Star is one's heart expanded or contracted? And if there's contraction, I know there's the work. And what that means for me in person is that's all it is. That's all that matters, is to be loving awareness and to show up as that. So life becomes easy to a degree because I know the direction and know what my North Star is. But when that isn't in place, it's running around blind, feeding a hungry ghost.
Yeah.
With we don't even know what food that ghost needs.
Totally. But that's, I think, what's been beautiful about the last 18 months, 12 months since March last year, is that, like, spiritually, people, they were made to stop for the first time, possibly for some people maybe for 50 years. They've not stopped, and the whole COVID thing made people stop and made a lot of people go, the fuck have I been doing? Whoa, it's the first time they've just had a chance to take stock. Working 2 weeks in Spain, recover, back to work, working. We've got a wedding this weekend, we're going to this week, and we've got this on this weekend. There's never time to just right, sit. What do I want? What makes me feel good? What makes me feel enriched? What makes me feel like, why am I here? You know what I mean? These questions cropped up for billions of people all over the planet this year. And that's why we've had this massive awakening of, like, apparently there's 2 billion awakened people on the planet now. And that's like gone up 80% since last year, which is like, yes, COVID, thank you.
Yeah, it's beautiful. I truly believe we are in beautiful times. The world, and it's said, like, the grossness will appear, and it is. We can see it everywhere, like the grossness. Like, I look at Instagram as such a wonderful thing of disconnection and how it's showing up, and we're just like seeing over the topness, excessiveness.
It's just my Instagram face.
Duck face. But it's there, like, to show us our disconnect and the amount of polarization and division. Everything's being thrown out. So eventually we can just look at it from that, oh my goodness, and see it for what it truly is, and then make that decision. Am I going to keep my energy into this Maya, or is it time to step out and look for something beyond it? Because hate is hate, no matter which side you choose. You could be for vaccines or against vaccines. It doesn't matter. You're putting your energy into it, and it's taking up bandwidth space in one's own being that could be used to create light and joy and love. So opposing is opposing. And I really feel the way forward is to choose your North Star, choose what it is you want to show up for. Do it wholeheartedly. Like, I'm speaking to, like, I was going to go to Standing Rock back in the day, and I really felt passionate about it. And there was a realization just before I got on the plane that it actually wasn't my path, because my genius and my thing is to help beings realize themselves using voice and using all these tools. So going to the front lines and Standing Rock was actually my ego wanting to do
Yeah.
that, to
Yeah.
go and take some Instagram photos and say I was there.
Mm.
But for some people it was their dharma, and it is their dharma, and so
Mm.
it's like really tuning in, because if we're trying to tune in with everything, we're also spreading our energy very, very thin.
Totally.
So it's like an idea of to save the world.
Mm.
You know, there are many roles to play,
Mm.
and just choose a role and
Yeah.
love that role and
Yeah.
play it to the fullest. I really feel is the path.
Mm. And I've had a similar little battle with, like, you know, going to the protests and stuff. It's like there's a part of me that wants to go to the protest, but then I see that everything that I do is my protest against. It's like, actually, I don't need to protest. I don't need to put that energy. I just need to keep doing the things that I do, which are bringing people enlightenment and self-realization. I don't need to go to a protest and be around like iffy energy. Do you know what I mean?
But what you're doing, you're so right, and I salute you. Like, be the change. So creating Yoga Rave, creating a space where many beings can gather, can listen to healing vibrations and tone, and to touch and to hug and to be uplifted in a safe container, is the change we're looking for. And the more we've been speaking about these things, creating more and more environments which are safe, where people can go and be full expressions. They don't have to hide behind characters, because we're encouraging authenticity. And this is beautiful. And I say the more proactive things we can do and create, and treating our friends and every being we see as we want to be treated, is the way.
Yeah, it's like
Small
don't battle against the things that you don't want. Create the things you want. Like, it's like that's where the joy comes from.
Absolutely. And it's also personal practice. Like, this is the beauty of seeing the horrors in the world, and then pouring compassion. Like, this Christ conscious energy is the energy of compassion. It's like, wow, I can see all the suffering, but I don't need to suffer too to make it okay. Like, so there's no need for this energy of joining it, but just witnessing it and staying in a loving vibration, I think, is the real thing. So it's like allowing these energies to pass through, but staying present to the love that we are, so others are able to come into the field of love and step out if they choose. Does that make sense?
No, totally. It's like what we're both doing is offering people a more enriching, fulfilling alternative to what they've got going on now.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and them having the empowerment and the courage to step into that, because all the people who are around you will ridicule. That's, you know, we've had tons of ridicule, both of us, from people who aren't aligned with what we're doing, and that's totally cool. You don't take that personally. That's their thing. Like, so yeah, it's just that being that the lighthouse to attract more. You know.
Yeah, it's. I'd love to speak into that, because it's come in the field this week about these. I'm just going to call it heavier energy, because I don't really want to get into the duality of good or bad. There's just like denser energies, and they're contained in all beings. So witnessing the lighter the energy, the more loving, open and expanded, it can trigger the lower energies that want to bring it down. So sometimes it can be an interaction with a being, things like might come up a bit like jealousy or spite or hurt, and it's even having compassion with that and seeing that it's part of this fuller transformation of the whole collective, of where there's a struggle to expand and there's fear and contraction. So when we're being met with heavier energies, again, that compassion of just holding it and just seeing it and allowing it to be, not rejecting it. I think that's what I'm really getting to, because it's when there's a rejection, it's like we're almost pushing it away, like, ooh, you can take your ideas and get away, but it's no, you can keep your ideas and be right there. It's, yeah, I hope that's making sense.
No, totally. It's like when them things come up, it's to sit back and have a think about it and where it's come from, and you know, why am I feeling like that, or why is that jealousy coming up that I didn't think I had anymore? You know what I mean? Oh, okay, it's that when I was rejected when I was 4 years old, or you know, when my mum and dad split up, or when I was let down by my father at some point. Like, because then when somebody lets you down or is late, you're like wounded by it. It's like, actually no, let's just acknowledge that, and yeah, you can still put boundaries in, but I don't have to relive that every time that emotion comes up. So it's every time, it's just catching yourself, doing the work, seeing where it comes from, and then laughing at yourself, really.
Absolutely, yeah. I love what you're speaking into is the shadow work, because seeing what we see in other is in self. So if it's triggering in other, it's because there's a part of self that hasn't alchemized it. So yeah, it's really true, being able to witness it, and then I think just engaging that child aspect of, oh wow, yeah, look at me being a real shit. Go you! But then the instant forgiveness of, I see you, and I get it, and yeah, like it usually is child self, and then we can be compassionate with our little child self.
Yeah, definitely. So I want to know, like, well, the people will probably want to know, you know, some of the things that you do. Some people won't know what kirtan is. Okay. You know, so can we go through like the offerings that you have, what you do at the moment, and explain each offering? Like, I'm a complete novice.
Okay.
I was going to say a word that I would have had to edit then, but I took Mancunianly away and went for novice.
Oh goodness. Thank you for asking. Kirtan, let's start there. Bhakti yoga, so it's the yoga of love and devotion, and we sing mantras and songs which are in Sanskrit, and Sanskrit is a vibrational language. So when we form these vibrations within our mouth, we're creating tones and vibrations which really are healing and nourishing for our whole being. If you think about it, we're just molecules vibrating at certain frequencies, holding this whole thing together that looks like a human being. And so sound and is very impactful on this being. And when we sing, it really goes up to the voice. When we connect to our voice and our throat chakra, we're opening into an expansiveness of being. And through mantra singing, we create energy, and it's an outpouring of this energy. It's an outpouring of devotion. And the space I come from is non-dual, it's Advaita, which means nothing is not self, nothing is not God. And so therefore, when we sing to certain deities, it's not like an Abrahamic God on a cloud sending thunderbolts if you don't behave. It's sending energy and activating energy to aspects of one's own self, one's own being. So if I call in Kali, as we was talking about Kali, we're calling in this energy within to destroy. She's the destroyer of time, and what that really means is time is an illusion, because we spend so much time in future projections, you know, the holiday, the thing, the what if I do this, blah, blah, blah. So we're not present in now, or we're dwelling in the past. So she comes in to bring us into presence. What is now? What is here now? And then from that space, she wears heads around her neck, and they're the heads of the egos. So the egos are the personhoods. So when we create this identity, often we start off, we're given the identity because you're told, you're creative, you're this, and we start to believe it, and we start to take on the characters of our family unit, and then of our social dynamic. I'm Northern working class, this, that, and the other, and we play the character. It's a character, it's not true, it's not a reality, but we really convince ourselves it's true. And then we get stuck in it. It becomes hard to move. We can get really locked. And that's all of the stuff we're talking about. So singing to Kali in particular is powerful because she can come in and chops off the head of the character. So then it gets to be this amazing thing of, well, if I'm not that, who am I? And so then there's this great expansion and infinite possibility, which can take bravery because it's stepping into the unknown and deciding who we are. So then we might start wanting to aligning to other energies to help guide this way. Who are we in infinite possibility?
What's the essence? What's the Atman? What's the truth? Our immortal self that exists lifetime after lifetime. The essence.
Absolutely. And throughout singing the mantras, we're pulling in this energy, and it's reminding us, and it's activating. They've been sung for thousands and thousands of years. So it's a celebration, it's a medicine, it's a remembrance, and it's good fun.
It is good fun, and it's intoxicating, man. It's like pure free crack.
It is. It really is, because this is it. This is, we're not in words. Let's talk about MDMA as a thing. What is this? What is it doing as an energy? It's opening. It's crumbling away the locks of personhood and opening the heart, which is a very similar vibration to when we come together in circle, where we don't feel fear because everybody else in that circle is aligning to this higher, so we feel safe. So this is the first thing, feeling safe and uninhibited to express. So kirtan's not about how you sing, it's that you sing, and that you sing from the heart. So we all tune in and then open. And so we're allowing pure Shakti, pure energy to flow through our being. And often people haven't really experienced that. So it is like this high, and it's high because we are high in vibration, connecting to these high aspects.
Exactly. Or people haven't experienced it because they've never taken drugs, or people who have taken drugs have never experienced it straight. So either way, it's like, whoa, this is like, next level. Because cacao, ecstasy and cacao for me are almost a similar like vibration, because it's this heart opening, and it's like, whoa, I can be loving and I can be expressive towards my friends. But then when it's worn off with these other drugs, you're like, we don't behave like that. But the cacao kind of infuses that into continually being part of your life.
Because it is our true nature, and this is what's being revealed. We're taking substances not to alter us, but to reveal what's inside. And then Ramdas speaks into this so beautifully. It's like we can take different things to meet God and meet God within ourselves, but then we can't stay there because it's come through a substance, a doorway, a plant, or whatever this is. So then how do we meet God and stay with God? And that is through practice. By practice, I mean devotional practices, by mind mastery, with meditation, singing the things, and every moment remembering our divinity, remembering we are God. Then we'll always be in that Garden of Eden, heaven space.
And there's a word for it in yoga, which goes back to Patanjali's sutras that are written, I don't know, maybe 20,000 years ago. And even in the sutras, it's like one of the things that can get you close to God or glimpse it is herbs and drugs. And that, and then Bhakti, karma yoga, jnana yoga, actual just practices, but that's giving you glimpses. To get there and stay there is just continued practice. And that doesn't mean continually taking drugs, because that'll take you onto this other downward spiral.
But then the truth that lies within that is we are the medicine. Like we contain DMT within our own being and these other spaces. And like when you look at the yoga practices and what they're doing, is like opening the energetic body and all the meridians. So when the energy is flowing, we are naturally achieving the states of what chemicals or plant medicines can reawaken within us. I spoke to an old peyote shaman. I told you this story, and I was asking him, like, how much peyote do you eat? And he's just laughed in my face. It's like, I don't. I am the peyote. I am the medicine. And it's like these medicines are here to show us what we truly are. They open the doors. Then
Perception,
we walk through, and then we can retain it. And this is why I do so much. Another one of the things I do is I hold ceremonies and I do integration work. So that means, how do we take everything the plants are showing us and embody it into our reality? These practices, yogic practices, all in balance and all in wholeness.
It's a good way to look at it, because in yoga the knots or the blockages are called granthis, and by practicing yoga, by a lot of pranayama activities, you're loosening these knots, and eventually you're untying these knots, and then you have releases, which can, like be kundalini rising, or can be like creative consciousness expanding, poetry coming in, just different channels and avenues being opened. And then to say that like these medicines, they unlock something for a period of time, do you know what I mean? And it's like boom, it's locked back up. But when we can remove all the granthis, we can have access to all these different states at will, because that's it within us.
Yeah.
And I've never thought about it like that before.
Absolutely, you're 100% right. And when we come to the medicines as a practice and change our relationship to the medicine, to stay open and work with them, show me how to stay open, show me where I'm blocked, and really ground that into the body and allow those energies, and then it becomes a prolonged ceremony. Life is a ceremony. The ceremony never ends. It's a continuation of this present awareness, and to continue showing up, because everything, like, it is that reverse, I want to say schizophrenia, where, because the world, everything is talking to us, and everything is wanting us to reach our highest. And when we can really tune in with that and believe it in our core, then we can work. Every conversation is an opportunity. Every being is also God. Ram Dass says, treat everybody as God in drag. And when that truth is revealed, we can navigate so many realms following loving awareness.
Without any fear whatsoever.
Absolutely.
And that's one of the quotes that I can't remember who said it actually, but it was like, if you knew the powerful beings that were walking beside you, you would never be scared of anything, ever.
Yeah.
And if you knew the truth, you're not going to be scared of anything.
It truly is, because the darkness is, we create that as well, and it's all perception. It's a beautiful awareness to venture into, because once there is a realization of there is truly no good and bad, it just is, and then the full surrender and acceptance, we're no longer in suffering, because we're not victim to it. We've finally stepped out of the victim triangle. And that's another subject I love, because the victim triangle is victim, perpetrator, and rescuer, and it shows up everywhere. It shows, like, I can go through all three in a split second within my own being. But when we're aware of it, like, the awareness is first, then we can transcend it from our being, because victimhood, so many of us reside in victimhood. We think we're a victim to the government, we're victims to circumstance, and then we'll stay in it forever. And then the finger pointing, every time we point a finger out, we have three fingers pointing back. So they can never be other, it's always us. And that is sovereignty. When we can fully embrace that, we become sovereign creative beings, and then we can really up level the life game. But it's a lot, because sometimes it's nice to be in the victim mode, and it's nice to be the rescuer. I'm gonna save you, don't worry. And then you're like building all that ego around being a savior, a healer, or whatever that means. So it's transcending all of it, and you don't get to be the hero, and you don't get to be the victim. You just get to be.
Observe. see.
Yeah.
But see all three happening all the time, and just be able to, like, that's one of the techniques in NLP, isn't it? To just, like, that person, come above, see all perspectives, and then just enjoy the dance, the alchemy that's taking place.
Absolutely. And knowing that we are also the perpetrator, this is a poignant part, because often this again is the shadow one. We don't want to look into that, where we could be the bad guy. I mean, they could speak grossly into that. Like America's always thought itself, and America's not an actual being, but as an energy flow, you know, through media and things.
We're the goodies.
The good guys. But nothing can be truly good. It has to have balance of it all. So there is no good guys and bad guys. There's just billions of beings with the possibility of infinite darkness and infinite light.
Exactly. But even just by saying that, it means we're not in acceptance of what everybody else is doing. That's like when, you know, I used to always laugh at, you know, we're going to make this the greatest country in the world. And it's like, even like Trevor Noah does a thing, and it's like when the British first went to India, there's like a little Indian man in a field, and this guy comes up to him, in his all his gear, like in the 50-degree heat in India. He's like, "Hello, we are from Great Britain, and you have to surrender to Her Majesty the Queen and God." He goes, "Who is your God?" "God." And he's like, What God?" "God." "God. What? Your God doesn't have a name?" He's like, "Yes, God." And he's like, "You don't even know the name of your God. How am I supposed to kneel down to your God?" "And very presumptuous of you to say Great Britain. Who gave you that name? You give yourself that name?" He's like, "Yes." Trevor Noah, check it out. His videos on YouTube. Not on YouTube. His thing on Netflix. But he so captures that thing, and especially with like. He's like talking about Brexit and stuff, and he's like, if there's one country in the world that shouldn't be telling, like, they should be accepting of other cultures now, is the British, because they've just gone around the world telling how people should be and how they should behave. And then he also says, like, well, okay, so if you're going to be racist, like, don't eat the food of that country. Stop eating the food of that country now. And he went, people would soon change their tune, because they go, "Well, I like that Indian food."
It is. I love what you're saying, because this is all of it in these moments. Any attachment to any identification of race, creed, sexuality, all these things, when we really tune into the truth of what we are, we don't get to play those games anymore, and that's so alive, because en masse we're holding on to victim stories in many ways. There's, you know, even speaking into like middle class white guilt, like this kind of idea that you have to feel guilty for the avatar you was born into, and privilege and these things, and it's rampant. There's so many conversations I'm hearing about it, and it's like it's disempowering that you can't show up, just showing up as the light. And I'm not making light of it, because it's some being's dharma to go through, but it's asking, what does it truly serve by holding on to eons and eons of pain, because it's been going on forever. I look at my own lineage, like witches who were burnt at the stake, you know, and we can all have a sad story if we look for it, and we can all have a celebration story if we look for it. But what's happening now? Who are we now, and what world do we want to live in and create? When are we going to draw the line? Like the thing with the masculine and feminine, I've heard sisters like, the matriarch's rising. I'm like, and for me, I'm like, no, it isn't. It's all dissolving. Like, we've had a matriarch and we've had a patriarch. Neither of them works. You know, it has to be beyond that. There's no separation, and to stop. There's Adlerian psychology, and he really talks about, we can stop looking at the world on this vertical level of judgment, where like we meet someone and suddenly it's like, where am I? Am I above you? Am I below you? And then we start to quantify this, and that's what we're consistently doing, looking to where we place ourselves. So we can never just be, because we're so busy judging other, judging self. But if we can get onto this horizontal and put all the divine light of conscious awareness on the dharmic path, there is no good or bad, better or worse. And then we can rest and reside in not having to compete and not having to quantify, but just show up and be.
And that's just getting into that practice of getting out of the head, into the mind, getting out of the head, into the mind. Using the mind, because it's a brilliant computer and it's a brilliant piece of equipment that we all have. But like, okay, I can just observe that and use it for the tasks that I need to use it for. But let's go into the heart, because the heart's not judging, the heart is just seeing the beauty in everything. So we uncover that heart.
Absolutely.
Anyway, have we been through all the things that you do?
No.
Oh, for God's sake. I'm joking. We got all the time in the world, baby.
You picked the big subject. But yeah, we touched it. Or see, this is the truth of it. It all merges into one thing, and it's supporting other versions of self in different avatars, moving into oneness and unity and love. And I guess the voice is one thing I'd love to speak into, because there's such a program that came into awareness was about quantifying and judging, using the voice as a way to judge and value oneself, and it became performance, and we started singing competitions and performance stuff, and it's really shut down so many people, because this is the human body, and it's one of the most amazing instruments in the whole cosmos. Like, it can mimic pretty much every sound and can be created. So the way I work is I don't even call it singing lessons or singing work, it's vocal activation. It's how do we use the human body as an instrument, and dropping any, like, you can't judge it. Do you judge a flute? It's just a flute. Do you judge the harmonium? It's just a harmonium. But you're going to sit down and work out how to make sound with it. So there's an invitation to get with the human body, be like, and how does it make noise? Because sound is amazingly infinite, and it's a healing tool. We can use it to emote, to release energy. Energy moves on sound. And so yeah, that's one of my big bliss radiant is working with sound and voice, and in all realms, everything that means.
Is that from instruments as well, using instruments?
All of it, absolutely. Like, we are vibration, like I said before, we are molecules vibrating, and how sound and vibration and tone affects the reality. You know, how did they build these structures? Because by changing vibrations, you can change the density of matter. So you can make things, what seem heavy rocks, literally levitate with vibration and tones. That's how powerful it is. And I really believe en masse is awakening through sound. It's like one of the tools. Crystal bowls in particularly, when we're merging, like, crystal isn't all computers. So when you work with crystal energy for pure vibration to clean the energy systems, as we were talking about before, powerful healing tones. I mean, I could go on for a long time, but like orchestras and everything got tuned off the Fibonacci, off the sounds, which are actually uplifting for the human evolution. But now we're knowing, and we're putting it back into music, like binaural beats in the South Asia. Healing tones are coming out in mainstream music. You look at, like, the way the music industry, like auto-tune, is literally killing the soul of the song. So we're listening to dead music. It's transmitting low vibrational energy. So I'm all about rebalancing by bringing the medicine people from the ceremonies into the public spaces, and spreading this vibration, sharing this vibration through voice and sound.
We need to get something on at the Albert Hall in Manchester,
Yes,
because it
we
would
do.
sound next level, double tech as sick.
Yes.
At pace.
Yes.
Because that venue is magnificent. But yeah, like, two things just talk about is first, like the voice, and there's so many of us who's just got this thing in our head that we can't sing. I can't sing. I've not got a voice. I can't sing, and it's something that I had all through probably until I was in my about 32, 33. Just thought I couldn't sing, and then once I started writing music, and I was like, oh, something was telling me that I had to sing these songs. And then went in the studio to record, and the guy, my mate, was just like, gonna have to have singing lessons. And I started getting singing lessons, and then I realised actually, the body is just an instrument, and it's something that you need to learn how to use if you don't naturally know how to use it. Like some of us are naturally gifted at things, others people aren't, and you need to learn it. Like you need to spend some more time on it, and you need to activate it. So that was like a massive realization for me. Is just this, and again the stories, and I think, like you were telling me earlier, just like you didn't start singing until recently.
Absolutely, I thought I was tone deaf and couldn't play instruments. It was completely closed, and it was all linked into trauma as well. And to be honest, the journey to find my voice was also the journey to find my heart. Like I often will say, and if there's an issue around expressing through the voice, there's an issue of self-love. Because it takes such a surrender. It's such a vulnerable thing to authentically sing from the heart. So this is the thing, you can have singing lessons and learn how to hit a pitch or how to sing or how to mimic somebody else, but there's still a difference to fully express your sound from your heart in complete openness. And that's where the magic really truly lies, in that. So everybody's voice is unique. Your voice is just as unique as a fingerprint, because it's made up of all these different frequencies which are just so uniquely you, and everything you've been through in your life comes through in your voice as tone and vibration. Like if you've had an emotional life, if you've suffered, if you've gone through things, these are like gold when it comes to then being able to offer, because you can go to the depths of emotional state and then you can bring it through the voice. So like our traumas become our golden gifts to the world, and that's epic in its own.
Totally, yeah.
And just it feels good, like singing and sharing song when we join together. And this is why, like Kirtan and Bhakti and devotional, it's not a performance, it's not me going and singing, it's about creating a field, an energetic field that all the voices merge. And in celebration, in unity, and it's powerful. It will change the vibration of the land. Like when I went to do kirtan at a festival, I saw the power within that. We were on the riverfront stage in the middle of this festival. I think it's Laneway in Reading, and all the Bhakti and all these devotional vibrations just spreading out, and people are walking in, and they would stop and come and feel like you feel it.
Because you can become part of it as well. It's not a separate, like when you go and see a gig and see a band, there's a separation, isn't there? Whereas in the Bhakti, in the Kirtan, it's like you're part of it, you're part of the performance.
Absolutely, and there's so much power for. It was amazing. I remember that particular one, some of the roadies afterwards, he was glowing. Like this guy who had tattoos and heavy metal, he was used to like heavy metal kind of bands, and he was just like, I don't know what happened. He's like, that was amazing. And he was just buzzing, and it was like, we knew it's the Bhakti.
Because people are tapping into the energy. They're not like, well, don't really know what's going on, but I feel the energy.
Exactly. You don't need to know the words. You don't need to know the translations. It's just, and I say that in my kids. I'm like, you don't understand it. You can just be just make sound, and you will merge into the field.
Yeah, because the cells of the body are feeling the vibration. Is everything is like, this is just a vibration that your eardrum's picking up in a certain way and interpreting as a word, but all it is a vibration, really.
Absolutely.
Just moving the air, the air in front of me with my mouth.
Absolutely. And then the one more thing to speak into, there's this thing of channeling, like medicine music, channeling spirit. So when we open ourselves, we allow the ancestors to come through. We allow these memories to come through and sing through us, and it's shared in voice and tone. Back in the day, the wandering minstrels would go from village to village, and it's how they shared the stories. It's how they shared history, because when we add melody, we remember. And so when we sing like Icaros and the melodies, we actually it's triggering memory of our ancestry and of our true nature. And this is it's like, wow, like what's happening? It feels like something's entering into the body. You can feel it inside you, like it's like, whoo. And that is the power.
Yeah, next level. Wandering minstrels, like I had a reading recently, and she said that I was a wandering minstrel in a past life, or I was like a wandering minstrel. I was like, a wandering minstrel sounds like. So I was quite interested.
Sounds a bit
but yeah, I think that's touched on most of the things that I wanted to talk about in terms of what you do and what you offer. And now I think you brought it in quite nicely before with Kelly and the destruction of the other heads and the ego. And I want to know what destruction took place for you to become Ahisha Das, to become this person who's in service all the time. Who were you before this?
Oh my goodness. What questions you ask. It's been one hell of a journey. Yeah. The old incarnation, Vanessa was her name. Wow. This is like a whole new another podcast, but in short,
we'll do a double.
Yeah, in short, she carried a lot of unhealed trauma from childhood, and there's no blame or shame there. It was just being born into a society that isn't conducive to healing and to the soul and the self. And I started on a path of addiction and drug use from 12, and alcohol and avoidance. So what is addiction? Addiction isn't about the substance. Addiction is not being present to one's reality. So doing everything and anything to not be present to one's reality. And for me, like being in my body was not a comfortable space. So I don't want to. It's out of your head. Let's get out of our head. Let's get out of it, because it's to not be present. So I lived a very fun, entertaining first half of life, which on paper was amazing. Like I had amazing jobs and friends, and went to amazing parties and all the things, the VIP, the this, that, and the others. But I think underneath there was, the real festering wound of unhealed trauma. So yeah, that's when things changed, because I got depressed and was suicidal. And the night I didn't actually die, I didn't kill myself, but nearly was probably the closest I came. I put a vibration out to the universe saying I don't want to live like this, because I think that was it. It wasn't I didn't want to live, I didn't want to live like this, and I had no idea that there could be possibly another way. But as the universe, higher self, likes to listen, and don't ask you don't get. So once one asks, then the universe responded, and things started changing. And it's been a process. And yeah, the first thing is letting go of that identity and then building the new spiritual identity, and that kind of built itself up. But it was beautiful. Again, no judgment, but there was a lot of bypassing. I was really attaching to this new identity, and I hadn't done the inner work. So Kali swiftly came a few years into that, and destroyed my life. And yeah, Spirit's been very generous. It doesn't seem like it. I spent probably the first year living in an ayahuasca community. I was serving Canberra at the time and learning with the shamans there, and I thought, this is my path, I'm going to serve medicine, and I was really in that space, and I learned lots and lots and lots. But there came a time so it's like, okay, well, you're done with the medicine, because there was integration, which I hadn't really heard of back then. I don't think it was a big thing. And so Spirit guided me that no more medicine. It's when I found Bhakti, And that's when the real work started, of integrating the shadow, of getting out of personhood. And through Sang and Advaita, I really started looking at these spaces of who am I really, and how am I actually showing up for my life? Am I loving awareness, or am I operating from fear?
Yeah.
And then I spent 4 months alone in a cabin in a jungle, really deep in the process. Like, really, that's when I was like cracking open to my voice. And I guess on a Western scale, I could be like clinically insane. There's probably going to be a book about this at some point. But there was this, my heart trusted to listen to spirit, and I was just, and it's like I didn't set off to do it, it just unfolded itself. So I was fasting. I think I just lived on mangoes that first year, and just me in the forest eating mangoes, listening to spirit, working with my voice, playing my drum, and having revelation after revelation and visions. And then I came out of that and served some more, and then eventually went back into stillness and spent a year again in silence, in stillness.
Almost like hermitage kind of thing.
Yeah, really. I really retracted from the world. And I think my soul needed to, because this is when I really deeply healed a lot of my wounds and faced the childhood stuff, and did soul retrieval and found my 3-year-old me, and without being too personal about it all, just some real work and real time, and to work through everything that had led me to an addictive nature, and from abstinence, and just being with it, being with the feels. And it was hard, man. It was like, I felt like I cried solidly for probably about 3 years. But there's always balance, because even in these dark times, there was joy. You know, beings or teachers would arrive in many different forms, and I might not have known it then that they were teachers, but they definitely were. And the Bhakti, the Kirtan, and has balanced it out. And then really, to, I guess, wind up this story, from that space, I ended up back in a medicine center, and was very resistant, because I'm like, I'm back to yoga, I don't need medicine, da da da. My spirit was like, I kind of want to speak to you. And everything aligned, and I finally listened, and I went and drank medicine, and have been living and working in that space for the last few years. And it's been beautiful, because even my whole approach and the integration and the level of what we can do, merging all of this, has been huge. And then that's finally brought me here to Manchester, England.
She's now living in my house at the moment for a little bit. I'm her landing spot. It's amazing having you in the space, teaching me the harmonium. You've already taught me the drum. Just hanging out. It's cool. It's getting raising the vibration. We've already done a little event together, which is amazing. 150 people. Yeah, it's been good.
Here we are, many more. We're gonna have some concerts that really, like within all of this that I just shared, I had a phase of, wow, I want to hear medicine music, but I don't want to drink medicine. So then I started arranging concerts of this high vibration devotional music, no alcohol, cacao and kombucha, this kind of thing, but places, safe containers for people to come and receive. And it came through. I'd love to start doing this here in England, creating nights full of musicians and healing music. So we have lots of things to plan and do.
It's all exciting, and it will all happen and materialise. But yeah, so what's next for Ahisha Das going forward? What do you see the next year, and then where do you see yourself in 5 years' time?
Well, who knows? It's not my will, it's God's will, and by God I mean the high aspects. And in this moment it is sounds. And I even spoke to you this morning. I'm calling forth the band to come forth and play with me. a collective of musicians dedicated to spreading this, and to create events and share, so to continue teaching and sharing all the knowledge that I have to empower others to do exactly this. And then one of my highest joys is singing and is creating these spaces. So yeah, very much going to continue doing that. And I do one-on-one teachings. I love being able to support. I support people who are going to support people. So someone who's ready to really step in and upgrade into holding space and facilitating. Then I love to walk side by side and help empower and support that, because I believe then the fractals keep fractaling out and we're just all rising. And looking for a cottage in the countryside to live.
Detached cottage.
Detached cottage, some nice fields. And
you can play your instruments without disturbing anybody.
So if anybody has some land.
Yeah. Or if anyone wants to be disturbed and has a semi-detached house, that's also fine.
That also works.
In nature. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think we're creating some retreats and teaching and empowering.
Yeah. So yeah, magnificent. Thank you very much.
Thank you
for
very
talking
much.
to me for so long. And if people do want to work with you, so can work with you on a one-to-one basis, to do bowls, to do harmonium, to do drumming, to do cacao facilitation or empowerment training. Is there anything else that I've missed?
Just reach out
if you want to be better at what you're doing.
If you feel connection, if you feel there's some gold, and then just trusting that, because sometimes I don't even know until somebody reaches out and they're just like, I just want to work with you, and then it's okay, we're going to do this, and so why limit it?
Yeah, totally. And what I would say is anybody that's like listening to this, I'd love to learn how to play the bowls, or I'd love to learn how to play the guitar or that, but I'm not musical and I'm too old. It's like, get rid of that motherfucking bullshit, because it is just bullshit. And
I love that you just said that, because that thought crept into my mind. I'm 45 and just this thought, I'm calling forth a new band to form to do this. I'm like, am I too old? Like that, literally. And I was like, no, you're not too old. Like this again. So thank you for speaking into that. That age is irrelevant.
Well, I think what I wanted to lead into was like this fact that you didn't grow up musical. You didn't grow up playing instruments. You did, some people, I played this all the way through, and then eventually I got older and I was like, okay, now I'm going to express this. It was like, no, it wasn't part of your life.
Yeah.
And when did that all come in?
So it was when I started training with cameras. I think it was about 7 years ago. We had to sing as part of the training, and I just cried, like literally, because I couldn't sing a note. It was so horrific. So it's only been, I think, around a 7-year journey. And as it's so beautiful, because I spoke to one of my friends who knew that being that person. She's like, I can't believe, even I couldn't speak publicly. Like I could do something like this. Like all of this has been a transformation. So everything's possible, and
so for everybody,
everybody, absolutely.
Yeah. If you want to push your boundaries and go beyond your imagined limitations of what you are capable of, then get in touch with Ahisha, do some work with her if she resonates with you. And for them to get in touch with you, how do they do that?
They send a pigeon.
Pigeon, carry pigeon with a little.
I have a website, ahishadas.com, and an Instagram, ahisha.das, or microdose coach. Instagram.
Awesome.
Yeah, that's the easiest ways to find me.
Okay.
And beautiful.
Anything else you want to share before we go?
Thank you for listening. Yeah, if you made it to the end, thank you for listening.
They make it to the end.
Much love. And
yeah, awesome. Thank you so much. That was an amazing episode of the Dealer to Healer podcast. Thank you to everybody who's listening. Sorry we haven't put one out for a long time, but I've been a very busy man. I've been doing my yoga teacher training with Jivamukti. The past 3 months have just been like consumed by that, which is a beautiful thing. But sort of now glad to be kind of getting my life back and being able to relax and focus on my teaching and my business and all the different things that are going on. Obviously, if you want to come on the retreat, places are limited. We've sold out 50% of it already. There's one in July for 5 days. There's one in September for 8 days. So just go onto the website www.liambrowne.com, RSVP the retreats. You won't be disappointed. It will be magnificent. You will laugh your tits off for most of the time, but you'll also probably cry, and we will touch some places of deepness that you will just free you up and allow you to come out of the retreat just feeling magnificent with this glow around you, which we want you to take forth and to be able to keep glowing and give you the tools and abilities to keep practicing and keep doing these things that are bringing you joy, and keep setting boundaries with people that are not bringing you joy, that are making you colour, making you go in, make you invert. We want you to be expressive, the heart to be open, and everything that we do that's about that. There'll be cacao ceremonies, there'll be cold water therapy, there will be just connection and like the group that we create and the energy we create as a team, as a collective with each soul that turns up is always like just a massive blessing, and it's really humbling to be part of. And it almost makes me cry a little bit because it is so beautiful. The first 3 retreats were just magnificent. So yeah, get on that. The book is on Amazon, Dealer to Healer, or have a look on the website. There's yoga on the field in Withington in Manchester every Monday and Thursday.
And there'll be a kirtan soon.
And there will be a kirtan very, very soon. So yeah, that's about it. Have a magnificent evening, day, afternoon, whatever you're listening to this, and we send you lots of love and blessings. Booyah!
Konmunai.
Muchas gracias. Thank you so much for listening to the Deal is a Healer podcast. Please stay tuned for more episodes of transformation, of metamorphosis, of people becoming the most beautiful version of themselves and teaching you, the listeners, how to become the most beautiful version of yourself. So if you want all that information, all that knowledge, all these amazing guests that I've got on my show, please subscribe. There's a subscribe button somewhere on this screen, so please just link onto that. You'll get a notification straight away of any new episodes, and I promise you I've got epic guests coming up, so please stay tuned. If you want to know anything else about the Dealer to Healer movement, of what I've got going on, about my links to the book, links to my website, links to my music, everything, please go in the description below. It's just down there somewhere. You just hit description and everything, it'll tell you everything. So nice one. Have a beautiful day. Take it easy, and remember, please subscribe. That would be amazing. Peace.